all you guys who are not on Facebook, I know people that don't follow Facebook necessarily. Some people don't really sign up for Facebook or any social media. I do know there are a lot of people that don't have social media. So if you are a big YouTuber but not a Facebook, a Twitter person, you can go on YouTube on Across the Board Sports Talk Show and get the show there, or you can watch it afterwards as well. Lots to talk about in the next hour and change. I mean, look, Penn State last night. I know pretty much everybody tuning in right now, whether it's on the podcast or here right here. It was such a bad way to lose a game where you pretty much dominated. Missing a field goal in the first half, we knew that hurt. The turnover towards the late in the second quarter, which led to Ohio State's touchdown, that hurt. But they still were up 26-14 with 8 minutes left in the game, and then somehow it just blundered away. They just blew it. They blew it, and whether the offense kind of shut down the last 10 minutes or change after they scored that touchdown, when they got the pass interference call, they went up 26-14. It felt like the momentum was all Penn State, which it should have been, and then it just, bam, went away. And then, not to mention, obviously, the biggest blunder of the whole game, it's a 4th down and 5 with the game on the line. James Franklin, I mean, we know, you can't call that play, right? I mean, we all can agree. Any other play in the playbook would have been okay. Okay? 4th down and 5 for a guy who didn't do much all game. You don't run that play right there. For me, the way I look at sports and the way I look at games like that, you want to put the ball in your playmaker's hands, okay? Say what you want about McSorley or not. He played a great game, okay? We can't argue that. The kid made plays with his feet. He was smart, didn't turn the ball over too much, and he made plays, right? I mean, he did exactly what you want from a quarterback to beat Ohio State. And I thought that play call at the end was just unacceptable. I think we all could agree that was something that you can't have happen. You just can't have that happen. I mean, give yourself a chance. Roll out the quarterback. Give yourself a fighting chance to win the game, to prolong the game, to get yourself a field goal range. Because remember, they were at the right in that 40-yard line position where they could have gotten a field goal with a couple more yards, and they go ahead and run a 4th and 5. They try to run that RPO that wasn't really working out the whole night, right? The running game wasn't working out. And then, which was the cherry on top, was after the game, James Franklin. If you guys didn't see this video and this press conference, I advise you guys all to go to your social media, go to your Twitter, go to your Facebook, and watch James Franklin and what he said in the post game, because you're gonna go off, you're gonna sound off. You're the guy to blame. You're the one to. I mean, come on! Like, you want to rip at everybody and say, "Well, we're too comfortable thinking we're great," and all this nonsense that he was spitting out of his mouth. That this we're gonna work hard, and we're gonna do the things that are right. And there was a few guys out there that know they made a couple mistakes. If you guys saw James Franklin's press conference, I felt that was worse than the play call. I really did. I mean, people were saying James Franklin's fired up. Well, he was part of the reason. And then you've got all the national pundits, Skip Bayless and all these people coming out on social media saying that he is a recruiter, he's a good recruiting college coach, and he's not a good game day coach. And I was sitting with my buddy Jeff last night watching it, and a couple other people, and they all said the same thing. Yeah, I get that. We know, everybody knows that. Everybody knows that James Franklin is a recruiter and not a game day coach. But the thing is they did so well. They put themselves in position to win the game, and then it was blown. That's the thing. It was blown. They had a chance at the end to at least give him a fighting chance. And look, if he didn't call a play call that stupid, then I would say, all right, it's not the end of the world. They fought hard. They fell short. You can't really blame James Franklin at that point for the loss. But because that play was run late in the game, it just gives you more reason to criticize and question James Franklin and the coaching decision right there at the end. So the rant, I'm more upset about the rant. I thought that was just a joke. I think you go in there, you got to explain what you did on 4th and 5. Nobody really questioned him on that. I know Penn State or college press conferences are different than the NFL. They're not the same. They're not on the same level. No one even questioned him on it. You don't run that play. Period. In any platform. I think that was crazy. For me to see a team play that well, that's what burns. Now, on the good note, 2-0 again yesterday on the GodfatherLocks.com. So, I mean, this is unbelievable, Joe. I'm giving out better picks on the show than I am in real life to people that talk to me or with the website. No, I had a great day on the website again. Penn State plus 3.5 gets the cover. Cincinnati, again, I was telling Laura yesterday, you don't even have to know a player for Cincinnati. Just take them. Well, they were minus 17. What did they win by, Joe? 42. It was 49-7. They put a beat down on UConn. So 2-0 with those picks yesterday. An unbelievable 25-8-1 on the website right now. So 25-8-1 run. We're going to have some NFL picks coming up at 11:15. But I want to get you guys talking about this Penn State game, at least for the next 10 minutes, because there's a lot of notes that I took on the game and that I saw. I mean, you talk about miscues, missed opportunities. You dominated the first half of the game, and you just couldn't come away with you ended up going into half with 13 points, which many people believed that 13 points, wasn't enough, that they should have been up more. And I agree. I think everybody can say they deserve to be up more. With the missed field goal, they had so many drives that they should have capitalized on, and they couldn't do so. So, there were some missed chances. There was definitely opportunities gone by the wayside for Penn State. And for me, it's a game where, yes, can they make the playoffs? 20-some-odd% says that they can make the playoffs. I, for instance, say you win a game like that, now all of a sudden you're a top team in the country. You're probably 4th or 5th in the country, no doubt about it, right behind Alabama, Georgia, Clemson. And if this kid Trevor Lawrence is any but banged up, that could have opened the door up for Penn State. So this is a colossal meltdown yesterday that I think a lot of people need to discuss more and more, and that's why we're here on Across the Board Sports Talk Show to discuss it. I couldn't wait to get on here to talk about it. I mean, who played? Again, I said McSorley's played well. I thought he played really good. The defense, right? How about the defense too? I mean, you talk about the defense changed the table, but dude, you talk about a Penn State defense that was pitching a shutout for the majority of that first half, and I personally thought that. We haven't seen a loss like this in a long time in sports for a blunder. Like I'm serious. On a college level, for a team that dominated both sides of the ball, that should have won the game, that should have been victorious today. We all can agree on that. They weren't. Now, what does this do for Ohio State? Well, now this propels them to probably a run to play Michigan, at the end of the year for a chance to go to the national championship playoff. At least they're the front runners now. They're the front runners to win the Big Ten championship, at least that side, to come out and play in the Big Ten championship in Indianapolis against probably Wisconsin, because that whole division sucks. But Penn State, season's not over against probably Wisconsin, because that whole division sucks. But Penn State, season's not over. But I wrote down in my notes today, what does this loss do to a team like that? You were previously ranked 9. I don't think they'll slip that much because they were playing the 4th team in the country. They might be 12 or 11 or 12, whatever comes out today with that poll. But you could have catapulted yourself to the top 5, and it was inexcusable. So you Penn State fans out there chiming in on Facebook, on YouTube, on the Mixer app at mixlr.com/Joe-Unis. Give me your thoughts on Penn State. I know a lot of people watched it. I saw a bunch of people on the whiteout. I saw that the crowd was into it, the reaction, the fans. I mean, the atmosphere was so set for Penn State to pull off the victory, and they didn't. It was so set for Penn State to pull off the victory, and they didn't. And I thought it was just they deserved to win the game, and it's hard. It happens in sports. A lot of times we see that where teams dominate the game, and then just something happens, a misfortune happens, or whatever. But for me, it's a missed opportunity. That's the way I look at it.
Your friend Albert's on.
Yeah, I see a bunch of people tuning in.
Let's ask him how he felt about the blue and white game.
Did he snap yesterday? Did he break a couple things? Albert, of course.
He wasn't happy.
Yeah, I don't know. There's not many Penn State fans that were happy. But Albert is, of course, from the law offices of Albert Yaqub, who is a premier sponsor of the show. And, of course, we bring you this show every Saturday and Sunday from 10:30 to noon because of these sponsors on this show. Law office of Albert Yaqub, premier gold sponsor. Sponsors the show, sponsors the segment of fantasy football coming up at 11:30, which we have a lot to talk about. Of course, coming up there at 11:30. Red Jewelers, Red and Company Jewelers, 2 locations, 5248 Hamilton Boulevard and 704 West Emmaus Ave. There's a place to buy, sell, customize, and repair your jewelry. Check out Red Jewelers in Allentown, PA. And, of course, course, Albert Yakub, you can give him a call, 610-437-2185. DUIs, drug offenses, violent offenses, he can get you covered for that as well. And a bunch of other advertisers I'll get to in a minute. Albert is saying, my sister jinxed Penn State, never watching a game with her again. Now, to give you a little bit of insight, you heard her yesterday on the show. My sister was the second voice on the show yesterday as Joe was out taking care of some business. She stepped in, did a phenomenal job, Joe, by the way. I know you heard some good feedback, as we all expected her.
I listened.
She did a good job. Laura came in, took care of the equipment. Now, this setup is nothing better than this right now from JDM Photography with the mic, the cameras, the YouTube, everything. But she came in, it was good to have her here because she's a diehard Penn State fan as well. And she wears her heart on her sleeve. We watched the first half together. She watched the second half. You did as well with Albert, and apparently it didn't go so well at that household. I'm sure you broke a couple of things, but it's a tough loss because when you bleed it, and Laura said it there yesterday, she it's her heart, right? You bleed your school you go to, or because Penn State has such a big following. It's not like the NFL where we could be big fans of NFL teams. It's been done before. But to have a crowd like that, to have an atmosphere like that, to see the fans the way they came out and supported Penn State, and then to lose is heartbreaking. So I can see why it was devastation. I can see why he was pissed off.
Listen. You don't take 30 minutes.
Yeah.
To call a play like that.
Yeah, well, two timeouts. I know.
And I'm pretty sure everybody who's listening and everybody who's going to be listening is saying the same thing.
Yeah, and I agree with that.
If you were going to do such a shoddy play, you might as well just hand it. Here you go, it's your turn.
Yeah, or let McSorley run it. Let him run it because he was gashing them for yards until that point, and then they did the RPO on a 4th and 5. Jeff's commenting says one of the worst play calls that I've ever seen. Up 26-14 with less than 7 minutes to go, and they blew it. Crushing loss. I don't think they make the playoffs. Now, Jeff, I was watching with Jeff the second half. And his family. It was a great atmosphere. I mean, seeing these guys all Penn State fans, right? I had Penn State plus 3.5. That was the pick on the show. So I loved being there because it's good to be around people who enjoy football, who are cheering for the same team you are. I mean, it's always great to be around that type of atmosphere. But you could tell. I mean, me and Jeff kept looking like, dude, what's going on here? I mean, you can't make a play call like that, Jeff. Absolutely the worst play call I've ever seen. The worst play call I've ever seen at the collegiate level. I have not seen a call like that, and I don't think he was rightfully ripped in the media. They didn't give it. He didn't get enough. He didn't get bashed the way he should have gotten bashed. To James Franklin, this is, just last night, today, the papers. I don't know what Penn State fans, the students out there think, but. And then he has the audacity to come out and do a rant like that. I mean, I advise everybody. I should have posted it on Facebook, Joe.
Well, know what it was. He was taking the blame off himself and putting it on the team.
Of course.
At the end of the day, it's a team effort.
Yeah, but I mean, you made the play call.
You helped the other team look like they were 5-star athletes.
Yeah. Well, he let him into the game. Is what he did. And I think look, you got to stay. You got to stay aggressive, right, Joe? I mean, you talk about sports, and they were winning 26-14, okay? They come back, it was 26-21, and Penn State they lacked it, right? They lacked that juice. They lost it. Even though you're still up 5, you come down, you kick a field goal, the worst that's going to happen is you're going to overtime, 29-29.
Dude.
They lost their juice.
Go old school. Hail Mary.
Yeah, throw something up, right? Yeah, throw something up.
At least Hail Mary.
Yeah. Yeah.
No one could say anything. It's like, you know what? The man had the balls to go for it, and they didn't get it.
Yeah, he put the ball in his quarterback's hand. Yeah, exactly.
But he didn't get up. Or he went for a Hail Mary, boom, won the game. The guy's a fucking warrior.
Yeah, he's a hero. At least all I'm saying is just throw the ball. Throw the ball. It's 4th and 5. I mean, he wasn't getting 1 or 2 yards of carry like that all game. That's really wrapped up in a nutshell, right? We all can agree that Penn State lost it. Ohio State didn't win that game. I'm sorry, guys. I'm not someone who really looks at it that way. So you win. I always normally say to me that you basically, as a quarterback, as a player, as a warrior, you are taught that you want that ball in your hands, guys. I got to be honest with you. And I'm not the type of person to say, as far as Ohio State's concerned, that if you win the game, do what it takes to win, right, Joe? I always think that, like, for me, okay, a W is a W, right? But Ohio State was highway robbery yesterday. They should not have won that game. They did nothing. That's why I told Jeff. I was texting back and forth after the game with Jeff. After I left, I was like, dude, they did nothing to win that game. They were nothing short of a winner there. They didn't deserve to win the game. And that's what's frustrating for Penn State fans today as you wake up and your team is now has one loss on its ledger. And Jeff says it. I mean, crushing loss, I don't think they make the playoffs now. That's going to be the tough thing to rebound from. Now you talk about that schedule that we discussed yesterday. The Michigan State, right? The Iowas and whoever else you got coming up. You got Michigan. You got all these teams coming up in the next couple of weeks. This is going to be tough for them to rebound from. And emotionally, if I was a betting man, which maybe next Saturday we will talk about this, Michigan State for me, the next time Penn State takes the field, Michigan State seems to be the play. I don't know how you bounce back from something like that. All right, it is Across the Board Sports Talk Show. It's 11 o'clock a.m. We have a lot to talk about in the next hour. I have some comments coming in right now on the Facebook Live. I'll get to them in a second. We are recapping Ohio State, Penn State. Of course, crushing loss for Penn State yesterday in a game that we talked about all show yesterday. One of the best shows of the year to this point yesterday with all the juice and comments and people just giving me all their opinions on the game, predictions. And, of course, everybody said, 36, 42, 39, or in the 60s and 70s. Of course, we get a 27-26 final. Stays under the total for all you bettors out there. 13-7 halftime. Nobody thought it was going to even reach 50 points at that point. And, of course, we saw a game that was kind of defensive in the first half. And then Ohio State was able to open up. And Penn State had some nice plays in the second half. That 93-yard touchdown was the play of the game by Hamler. KJ Hamler taking it to the crib. 93 yards. And it's a shame that he didn't get that victory. So the chat forum is open, recapping Penn State, Ohio State. We have a pick segment coming up at 11:15. Yesterday, 2-0 yet again. Cincinnati, Penn State, they get the covers. We have some more picks coming up at 11:15. You want to stay tuned for that. NFL Sunday, right? Top 5 games of the day. I'll do it every Sunday. What 5 games are you looking at? I've got mine circled right here on my scrappy notes that I'm taking as the show goes on. But we'll talk about my top 5 games. Eagles, Carson Wentz's first road game back from injury, right? This is the last time he was on the road. He injured himself at the Rams last year. So we'll see Carson Wentz play against Tennessee today on the road at 1 o'clock, and we'll discuss that in the next hour. And, of course, 11:30 Fantasy Football brought to you by the law office of Albert Yakub, the Elias Market Bake Shop, and, of course, the Essence Hookah Lounge. That's coming up at 11:30. We'll talk some fantasy football. But some more comments coming in, which is great to see on a recap Sunday. And, of course, everybody watching right now, I please advise you to watch James Franklin's press conference because it'll add an element. And I meant to post that, before the show was going to start, and I wasn't able to do so. But if you want to check it out, just go to Twitter, go to Facebook. Everyone's going to have it up there. Look at James Franklin's post-game press conference and see what he said and just see how absurd his rant was and how bogus it was. Couple chat comments coming in. Albert says Ohio State's quarterback couldn't throw the ball at all. Unreal, they blew it. Janice, hello Janice. Janice Awa, thank you for listening. Janice, she says 100% agree. And then Laura, who did a fine job yesterday, chiming in and being a co-host and helped me out. She says agreed. Ohio State didn't earn that. And of course, Mike Vitko says Cincinnati to the bank. Mike, I hope you took that yesterday, 49-7. And of course, the biggest pick on the site yesterday was Penn State plus 3.5. So I know all you Penn State fans are upset, but of course, it's a happy day for me or night. And I'm on to the NFL today. I've got some juicy picks coming up. But Penn State yesterday plus 3.5, I thought was a gold pick. Again, they should have won the game. Ted on the Mixler app. Of course, you can reach the show at mixlr.com/Joe-Unis. Ted says normally they can make the playoffs with one loss, but there's a lot of good teams this year. We may have a few undefeated teams. Ted, I could not agree. I couldn't agree more with you with that comment. I mean, there's just too many top tier teams in college football. And here's the cherry on top, which I don't know if you Penn State fans are going to like this comment or not. This isn't going to be their only loss now. Unfortunately, I think a game like that, it just sits with you, man. I think it just sits with the team for a couple of weeks. I know it might be, some people can argue that, and some people could say, oh, it's one game, you get over it, you got to look forward. If the coach is coming out talking like that, I think he, as Joe said, he's trying to put the blame on his team. He's trying to motivate his players to move forward. It's going to linger. It's going to linger. I don't know if they lose the game to Michigan State, but it'll linger. And every time they play Ohio State, it's been known that the following week, it's always a letdown spot, even if they win or lose. You saw it last year when they lost to Ohio State. They lost to Michigan State the following week. So we're going to see what type of team this really is. But as Ted said, there's going to be some undefeated squads this year in college, and it's going to be hard for Penn State to get back up in that top 5 and get in that picture. Because look, does anybody see Alabama losing? No. Does anybody see Georgia or Clemson losing? They may, especially if Clemson's quarterback situation is a problem. But Georgia's dominating. Even when Tennessee gave them a fight for a little bit of that game, they end up winning by 26. These teams are the cream of the crop. Look at some other, now Ohio State, right? A one-loss Ohio State team or a one-loss Penn State team. Penn State's not getting in because Ohio State beat them now on their field. So it's a monumental loss across the board. No pun intended. It's a monumental loss. And it shouldn't have been a loss, right? That's it. If they would have lost 42-20, I would have sat here and said, I was wrong about the 3.5. Penn State didn't show up. Ohio State's legit. That's what I would say. But they're not legit, right? Because they didn't perform the way they have against the slowly squads they played in the previous weeks. You're beating up on Rutgers and Illinois, okay? Then you come into Penn State and you really played a mediocre game, but yet you got the victory, right? They did what they had to do. I don't think Urban Meyer is sitting in his locker room right now upset at all, right? In his office or in his home in Ohio, upset. They got the win, right? They'll come back next week, blow out another team, and everything's all good in Ohio State. So can they recover from a one-loss season and kind of run the tables? That's yet to be seen. Ted says Notre Dame is solid. I'm a believer after yesterday, Ted. Notre Dame, they got that kid Book at quarterback. They got a solid running game. That defense is no joke. Couple weeks in a row, they shut down some teams, shutting down Stanford for the whole second half, which was a phenomenal performance. They literally took out Bryce Love. So Notre Dame is definitely solid. Oklahoma, with all their issues with Murray, he dropped 7 touchdowns yesterday against Baylor. So there's a lot of good teams in college football, and it's going to be interesting to see how Penn State fares the rest of the way. I don't mean to sound doom and gloom because I'm a positive person. And yesterday we talked about Penn State, and I thought they would win that game. And I thought I was right for 99% of the game that they were going to win. Even when they slipped down 14-13, right? Ohio State took that 1-point lead. It was 14-13. The kid misses the field goal. I thought right then and there, all right, this is a momentum shift, right? This is a chance now for them to grab that momentum back. And this is a chance for them to take over and lead. And I still felt confident. Then you're up 26-14 late in that game, and you end up blowing the game. And that's the big story of the day. And the big story of last night, of course, was Penn State not being able to finish the job. And, of course, I want your comments on the chat room, the Mixlr app, mixlr.com/Joe-Eunice. We are now on Facebook and YouTube, right, Joe? Are we good? We are on YouTube Live. For everybody tuning in right now and people who don't have Facebook, you can go to YouTube, across the board, Sports Talk Show. And you can see me live on YouTube. We're going to start pumping out some links to that as the show goes on starting next Saturday, and especially when I do live shows for my fine advertisers to see me up on YouTube Live, and you guys can engage. YouTube is definitely a better platform than Facebook, and I'm pretty sure I could read comments on that as well, so I'll be able to jump on and talk to you guys on YouTube and Facebook. So definitely a different element to the show as we're progressing here on the program, thanks to JDM Photography, of course, jdmphotography.net for any of your birthday parties, baptisms, events you got coming on. Visit his Facebook page as well, JDM Photography, and you can do it. Joe's doing some fine stuff today too. After the show, he's going to help out a church and do a live video. Joe, that's good work out of you, Joe. That stuff it goes a long way, man.
Yeah, we're going to go to the Park Ridge Community Church,
okay.
I believe it is.
Okay, and take some video
and help them do some video. They want to kind of do what we're trying to do. Well, not sports talk, but
yeah.
Basically, they're patrons that can't make it out to the community center to get to hear the word of God and the sermon and all that.
Yeah.
They can try to log on Facebook or YouTube.
I like that.
So I'm going to help them out as best as I can. I am not IT savvy by any means.
No, but you put on a good show. And, of course, people get to listen to the show because of all the lights and cameras and stuff like that. So definitely give jdmphotography.net a view. Check them out on Facebook. Of course, all my advertisers, you can check them out.
On Instagram, too. That's where
Are you on Instagram, too? Oh, yeah, of course.
I usually put everything on Instagram.
Yeah. Instagram is that's the one social media platform.
I should be updating my website more, but Instagram's just so much easier.
It's jdmphotography.net. And, of course, I don't have an Instagram, but I do have Twitter, Snapchat, Facebook, all that stuff, and now a YouTube page. You can visit Across the Board Sports Talk Show for the YouTube page. Now, again, more comments about the Penn State game if you want to funnel them in. What you liked about the game, what you didn't like about the game. Of course, James Franklin, to me, gets the rip, right? He gets the blame. But I just, to see a guy like that in the post-game press conference, and if anybody saw it, how about that? Let me throw that out there. If anybody already saw his comments and his facial expression, I mean, I was like, dude, are you serious? I'm watching this at 1:00 in the morning last night. I'm like, you're really gonna say what you just said about, we're getting too comfortable being great, and we didn't do a couple things out there that we should. Well, maybe you shouldn't have ran the ball on 4th and 5, and instead giving it to your quarterback to make a play. So if anybody saw this James Franklin press conference, please chime in. I'd love to hear from you guys and talk about. I thought it was the stupidest thing I've ever seen from a coach after a game to talk like that when he was, part of the blame. And their team played well enough to win. That's what's crazy about it. They played strong enough to win the game. And I think Penn State now it's gonna hurt, and I think we all can agree on that. So everybody on the Facebook Live app, everybody on Mixer, everybody on YouTube, your thoughts on Penn State, Ohio State. I'm gonna leave the forum open for you guys. How disgusted were you as a Penn State fan, and what does this do to the college football landscape? Because now Ohio State, if you look at their schedule, they're gonna definitely make a run at this game against Michigan coming up at the end of the year, and of course they're gonna lead themselves in to that game in the Big House. I believe it's the Big House this weekend. This season. I think they play this turns in Michigan. So Ohio State now all of a sudden becomes a top contender. Now they're 4. They're going to sit there, probably go. They'll sit at 4. Alabama, Georgia. They might even go to 3 now with Clemson looking as bad as they did against Syracuse. I know there was a quarterback injury, but Ohio State might even jump to 3. So you're going to have Alabama, Georgia, Ohio State, and then, of course, Clemson as your top 4 teams on the docket. All right, NFL Sunday is here. In a couple of minutes, we're going to do GodfatherLocks.com pick segment. Of course, the top 5 games of the day as viewed by me. Now, you could chime in and say what games you're looking out for and what games you're definitely eyeing out and have circled. Of course, you don't have to mention the Eagles game because I assume that the Eagles game is on a lot of people's radar, right, Joe? We can agree that people who tune in are tuning in to see what the Eagles are doing for the most part. Now, there is a large fan base that listens to this show that are Cowboys fans, that are Giants fans. I know a few Packers fans that listen in. Steelers, Jeff, diehard fan of the show, diehard Steelers fan, one of the biggest Steelers fans I know. They've got the Ravens tonight, and I'm going to lead with that. Ravens, Steelers is one of the top games today. Look, as far as I can remember, these guys play tough games. They play field goal type games, and I don't expect anything different today. It's going to be an all-out war tonight on Sunday Night Football under the lights. Pittsburgh got themselves a much-needed win against Tampa Bay. Now they can string together another. Right now, life after Le'Veon Bell can move on because the guy still didn't show up. Now they're saying they might trade him. They're opening up the trade talks to get rid of Le'Veon Bell to a few teams. And I know the Jets are one of them. I think the Bucs, and there was another couple teams that are mentioned in this conversation. But the Steelers can now string together 2 wins and 1 at home. They looked horrendous the first game at home against the Chiefs, especially in that second half, laying out a complete egg, being dominated defensively. The Chiefs did everything they could. Now, the Chiefs have played well. The Chiefs have dominated everybody so far. Undefeated to this point. Patrick Mahomes is setting records, right? So the Steelers have a chance tonight at home against the Ravens to kind of string together that second win. They can play... if they play solid, sound football like they did the first half against Tampa, their defense is the big question mark. And I know Jeff's here right now, and he can tell you on the chat room that he knows how bad this defense is. If that defense for the Pittsburgh Steelers can play half as good as they played that first half against the Bucs, they'll be much better off. So we'll see that game tonight. What to expect from Joe Flacco? Are the Ravens seem like a team that's hit or miss? I feel like in Baltimore, they're a great team. On the road, not so much. I mean, they lost to Cincinnati on that Thursday night game. Now they travel to Pittsburgh on Sunday night. And I don't have a pick on it at all, but I would expect Pittsburgh to kind of string together that second win and get that offense flowing full force. That's game number 1. Your second game of the top 5, for me, has to be the Saints and Giants game today at 4:25 in New York. And for the reasons why I say that, because we talk about the Saints a lot on the show. Saints got a lot of attention in the preseason, a lot of national pundits picking that team to go to the Super Bowl. They've got a chance in New York, who the Giants last week go into Houston and beat the Texans, right? Big win. They played well, both sides of the ball. Saquon Barkley looked great. Receiving core, they were doing whatever they want on the outside against the Texans defense. Now the Texans, they're 0-3, okay? They haven't looked good to start the year, but a big win for the Giants on the road last week. Now they get a home game against New Orleans. Remember, the Giants next week have Carolina. The Saints got a Monday night game against Washington, and I don't remember the last team that went into New Orleans and beat the Saints on a primetime Monday night game. It's been a long time. So
does he bring his spin move?
Who's this?
Drew Brees.
Drew Brees? Oh, yeah, Drew Brees is in. It's going to be a good game. And I like the Giants' defense, though.
Who shows up? Eli The drowsy guy or Eli Superstar?
Yeah, well, last week he looked good, and we got to give it to him. I think this week, and again, we'll get to the pick segment in a minute.
Saquon Barkley makes him look good.
Saquon Barkley is a stud, and I think that's why everybody can continue to watch the Giants and like them. Joey Hadid says Philadelphia Eagles showing interest in Le'Veon Bell. Joe, if they get him, that'll be a game changer beyond the game changer. I didn't see that story that the Eagles are showing interest. I think everybody's interest. It's all about if you have the money to sign him to a deal. I don't know if the Eagles do or not, but I do know that the teams that are interested, like the Jets, like the Bucks, teams that need running back help, can definitely go out and get him. But the Steelers need to move past that. I don't think he's reporting at this point. He's losing $850,000 a week and doesn't seem to give a crap. So it doesn't. At this point, you got to kind of move on from Le'Veon Bell and get what you can, right, and make a trade and see what you can get back from it. But Giants Saints, that's your number 2 game. We're going to get to the pick segment here in about 30 seconds, and we'll discuss that game in the pick segment some more. And then the other top 3 games that are on the docket, we'll get to after the GodfatherLocks.com pick segment. If you guys want to jump on, give me your games you're looking out for today. Reaction to the Penn State game. I'm going to reset this. I see some more people tuning in. What you thought about Penn State last night and Ohio State. And if you saw James Franklin's press conference, I'd love to hear from you guys here on the chat room and on Facebook Live and on YouTube Live. Yes, if you're tuning in right now, I see some new names tuning in. YouTube Live across the board sports talk show. If you go on YouTube, you can check us out going on right now, going live on across the board. And I see, are you gonna try to show them YouTube? Yeah, so this is the YouTube live feed right now coming in. If you want to jump on that, of course, everybody that tunes in says, if I don't have Facebook, how do I listen? If you don't have Facebook, that's why I put out the link, the mixlr.com link. If you could, /Joe-Unis, JOE-YOUNES, and you can check me out on that. But also on YouTube, there's Joe right there as you're watching. That's my YouTube page with all the shows previously. So if you want to follow my YouTube page, you want to subscribe, you can do that on Across the Board Sports Talk Show on YouTube, Facebook, and of course the Mixlr app. This show is brought to you by my fine sponsors, Red Jewelers, the law offices of Abu Yaqub, The Cut. Yes, 1058 3rd Street in Whitehall at The Cut. Your Lehigh Valley Realtor, Eli Boutros. Big shout out to Eli. Laziz Mediterranean Grill, located out there in Allentown, Broadway, Allentown, if you want to stop on by. They're closed today, but if you want to go there tomorrow for lunch, have a great sandwich. Check out Laziz. Biagio Pizzeria, the best pizza, wings, burgers you're going to find in the area, and the best cheesesteak, in my opinion, in the Allentown area. Check out Biagio Pizzeria. JDM Photography, which we mentioned earlier, doing the fine show for us, helping us out on YouTube. And my newest sponsor, premier sponsor, Meza Middle Eastern Restaurant. My guy Rami is a phenomenal supporter of the show. We're going to be doing a live show from Meza in the next couple of weeks. Check out his big party, October 26th, for a concert here in Allentown. Check out Meza Middle Eastern Restaurant and go to my Facebook page for all the details. Of course, you can follow these advertisers and click the link. And of course, support local businesses. Right? That's what we want to do here. So all these places that have supported the show from the start and my new advertisers, give them a shout out, whether you're looking for a place to eat, a jeweler, a realtor, a barber, or a photographer. Check them out. And of course, a place to hang out, whatever you need. Some dessert from the Elias Bake Shop, some produce from the Elias Market. We've got you covered here on the show, of course, with all my fine advertisers. All right, the pick segment. Every Saturday and Sunday, GodfatherLocks.com, which is my business. You can't call it really local business. You can just call it a business. A service is the way I like to look at it, right? It's a service for you guys. And of course, what is GodfatherLocks.com? People ask me that, Joe. What is it? I've gotten something. After 7 years of promoting the hell out of this, there's still some people saying, what is this business you have? You have a website? Yeah, it's a website that gives you picks on the game, the kind of what I do here on the show. Every 11:15 on Saturday and Sunday, I'll give out free picks. But on this website, it's in-depth analysis. It's picks from watching numbers, watching the games, watching the moves, and of course, if you like to wet your feet into some sports betting, you can do that with the website. And of course, I only put out the premier picks that I think are the best solid picks to wager on. Your hard-earned money can be put on the right side by joining GodfatherLocks.com. 25-8-1, the last 34 picks on the website. 25-8-1. Of course, Penn State yesterday was the big pick, plus 3.5. They cashed in. How about NFL Sunday, currently on a 6-1-1 run? The last 8 NFL games, 6 of them have cashed, 1 of them lost, and of course that push that happened on Thursday with the Vikings. And if you could have gotten the 7.5, I said that would have been great to buy that point. But if you couldn't, a push is a push. We'll take it and move on. Today, 2 free picks coming up here in the NFL. And of course, I talked about the top 2 games of the day so far. There's 3 more to come. But the third one of the day, and this might be a little bit of a homer pick here, Joe, but the Dolphins play the Patriots. And yes, this time around, the Dolphins are 3-0 and the Patriots are 1-2. So Miami, surprising team, right? Not many people thought they would be 3-0. I don't think anybody in the world thought that the Dolphins would be 3-0. They are. Okay, they go to New England coming off of a loss against Detroit. It's a tough spot for Miami to go into New England. I don't think anybody in the NFL would want to play Tom Brady off of a loss at home, and you're the 3-0 team, right? Coming in the division. I mean, it's a crazy situation, right? They can go up 3 games in the division if the Dolphins could somehow go to New England and win that game up there in Foxborough. So what to expect in that game? It's simple, guys. I'm a Dolphins fan, but I play with my mind, not my heart. The New England Patriots is your first free pick of the day, and I say this because Tom Brady has burned me so many times, and today I learned my lesson. Okay, it took me how many years to finally figure this out? You don't go against the Patriots at home after a loss like that against a team that has struggled in New England. I'm a big Miami supporter, but I got to go New England today, minus the 6.5. Make sure it's minus 6.5. If it's 7, I'm not really in the mood to take another push, guys. So take the 6.5 and lay the 6.5 points. My second free pick of the day is a game I just previously mentioned, Saints and Giants. On the road, minus 3.5 against the Giants. I like the Saints. I'm a big supporter of New Orleans. Had them last week against the Falcons. I told you they'll make a statement. They did. They went into Atlanta. They beat them at the end. Took them in overtime. They got the W. I like the Giants today plus 3.5. As I said all that about the Saints. The reason why I like the Giants today, that win last week was big for them. Going into Houston, getting that win on the road against a Texas team that's struggling. They come back home. It's a 4:25 game of the week. I think it's the Fox or CBS game of the week today at 4:25. I think the Giants are able to move the ball on the Saints. I think that defense has played pretty damn good. New York's defense has played good in the first couple of weeks. They did it against Jacksonville, even though they took a loss. Dallas, I know they dropped 20 points on them, but they struggled in the red zone. They struggled to put drives away. I think the Giants plus 3.5. If the Saints win, it's going to be by a field goal. I don't see the Saints winning by more than 3 points today in New York. So your 2 official free picks are the Patriots minus 6.5 and the New York Giants plus 3.5. There you go, Joe. So those are your 2 free picks. What do you feel about me taking the Giants today at plus 3.5? You probably feel good because I'm on fire right now.
I think that's the first time in how many years
that I've taken the Giants. I don't really go. It's one of those teams that I don't go against or for them for a while. I mean, I don't. It's not that I can't say I don't have a read on the Giants games, but you just don't know what Giants team is going to show up. You just said it earlier about Eli Manning, of who's going to show up. Is it going to be the Eli Manning who throws interceptions, or is it going to be the Eli Manning that plays solid, sound football and utilizes his tools like Barkley and ODB and Sterling Shepard and of course, the offensive line that has done good work for Barkley in the previous weeks. So now that Flowers is benched, of course, Joe likes that Flowers got taken out. No surprise they had protection last week, and they won the game, right, for the Giants. So
imagine how that works.
Yeah, Patriots, Giants, those are your 2 official free picks. If you guys want to jump on the site, of course, GodfatherLocks.com, you can get the other premium picks. These may or may not be the biggest 2 picks on the site today. I gave you Penn State plus 3.5 yesterday as the biggest pick on the site. People were paying money for that pick, so I didn't want to give that out again. I can't give out my biggest pick of the day today as well. Maybe or maybe I did. I can't tell you. But go to the site, GodfatherLocks.com, sign up for a plan. It's free to register, and then look at the plan that best fits you. If you want to try me out, GodfatherLocks@gmail.com. I might give you another freebie or tell you how this works. Of course, if you want to invest, you can check us out at GodfatherLocks.com. So Patriots and Giants. Some of the other games that are interesting, of course, I would be mistaken if I don't bring up the Eagles and what they're doing today on the road against Tennessee. The Eagles are a 3-point favorite on the road in Tennessee, which God knows what their offense is going to look like today and what their quarterback situation is in Tennessee. But the Eagles favored on the road, minus 3. They looked pretty weak last week. I know it was a victory for the Eagles over the Colts, but last week at home they struggled. They still got the win against the Colts. Tennessee goes to Jacksonville, shuts down a Jaguars team that just beat the New England Patriots, right? They come back, they pitch a great game. They win 9-6 in a nasty slugfest, and now you're telling me you're catching 3 points at home against the Eagles. So I don't have a pick on the game, but if I had to have a lean, I would lean towards the Eagles minus 3 on the road today. Of course, the Vikings come to town next week, so I definitely think the Eagles need to win this game. The Vikings are going to be hungry after losing a couple games in a row to Buffalo and, of course, the Rams. So I would lean towards the Eagles today. not official free pick. My two official free picks are the Patriots and the Giants. Patriots -6.5, Giants +3.5 are your two free picks of the day. All right, I see a bunch of new people tuned in. Joe, Jenna, Danny, Chris, all you guys tuning in. Anise, everybody that's tuning in, if you guys are still there live. I can't, see, that's the one thing about Facebook. I don't know if YouTube's different, Joe, but on YouTube, maybe we can see who's actually still in there, because Facebook just says he's watching, and then I see a number at the top, but I don't know who of those people are still watching. That's the key here. We're gonna have to figure that out. Maybe maybe YouTube could do that. But if you comment and say hello, I'll know you're here, like I said yesterday, so I can know to have a discussion with you. Chris, who was fresh off his trip to State College yesterday. Chris Jera, who jumps in, a cousin of mine who's a big supporter of the show, Penn State fan and Philadelphia Eagles fan, is chiming in. Of course, he's fresh off that trip back from Penn State. Sorry to Chris, I know you missed the first hour and change of the program. We discussed the Penn State game a lot. We'll readdress it here in the next half hour before we leave here. But a tough loss for Penn State yesterday. I know to be there, I don't know what that crowd. I mean, I do know. I watched it, but to be in that stadium after Ohio State won, especially after that James Franklin 4th and 5 call, which I totally cannot get over. But I can see that the disgust and the dejection from the Penn State fans after that game finished. So I'd love to hear from you, Chris. If you are, were you there to the very end? Obviously, I think you were. You just saw the hands on the head. People were just devastated, man. Penn State deserved to win that game yesterday. And I see, I'm not just saying that because a lot of Penn State fans listen to the show. I'm saying it because they deserved to win the game. They did. They played so well, Joe. I mean, they played so well, both sides of the ball. And I think Chris could attest to that. He said he got home at 4:30. He just got up. I don't blame you. I mean, it was a late game. But Penn State, tough loss. We're still talking about it. We're recapping Penn State. But, of course, it is an NFL Sunday, so I'm trying to mix in both conversations today for the next half hour. We are talking NFL football. The top 5 games of the day, I gave you my first 2. Saints, Giants, Ravens, Steelers. Those are your first 2. The third biggest game of the day, and this is also, actually, I did give the third, the Dolphins and the Patriots. I'm sorry. The fourth biggest game of the day may come as another surprise, and this is going to sound crazy for a lot of people, but the Bills and the Packers. Bills and Packers. I mean, what is going on with Aaron Rodgers? And I know he's banged up. They lose the game to Washington last week, which we had Washington on the show. We told you Washington was a good selection. We thought they would play well. The Packers, Aaron Rodgers, you get the Bills team who beat the Vikings last week, knocked out a lot of people in their survivor pools. They win 27-6. They come back this week as a 9-point underdog, as I'm seeing, against the Packers on the road. Green Bay needs a game today where you can kind of make yourself a contender, or is Green Bay just an average team? Or does Aaron Rodgers just get that much love? That could be a thing with Green Bay, is that they just get a lot of love. And I think, for me, the Packers need to make a statement against a Bills team that was dominated for the first couple of weeks in the season, right? You lose a couple games to Baltimore, you get blown out by the Chargers, and then all of a sudden you come back and play Minnesota and win 27-6. So I wrote this game down because I find it interesting to see what the Packers are and what type of team we're going to see today against Buffalo. So my eyes will be on that. Sam, hello, welcome to the show. Chris says Penn State beat themselves. They outplayed Ohio State. PSU's play calling sucked. You thought Jason Garrett was on the sidelines, as I'm assuming the Seymour part says there. Very Jason Garrett-like, Chris. I agree with you. That was a big blunder. Only the Cowboys can make a decision like that. Now Penn State just followed it up. No, I kid about that. But no, seriously. Penn State, 4th and 5. The way you just got to pass the ball. You just got to do anything other than what you did. And I think we all would have been happy seeing him not run the ball like that, especially right up the middle where Penn State was struggling to score, struggling to make hay, was up the middle. And I think the outside, they could have rolled outside, passed the ball on the run, and made some plays, and they didn't do that. So that's the big blunder of the show.
You know what that reminds me of?
Yeah.
I know half our viewers, they played football for high school and back in the day. Remember when the coach would take the ball and he was trying to teach the defense how to recognize whether it was a run or a pass?
Eyes on the ball.
Yeah, so whenever he would bring the ball up and sit back, everyone had to yell pass.
Yeah,
and then
we did that.
Everybody would yell run. I felt like that's what we were doing last night during the game. I mean, Albert said it. We were calling it. The next play is going to be a run. Watch. Oh, the next play is going to be a pass. Watch.
Yeah, predictable.
It was predictable.
Yeah.
I mean, if we can see it from the couch at home,
how can Ohio State not see it?
The stool at the bar, or the ceramic tile floor at your friend's house.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that offense, the RPO, where you have that run pass option, right, where you could It was predictable last night. It was. And Penn State didn't sell it that much. And I was watching. I was watching with Jeff and his brother Justin. And Justin goes, I don't feel like they ran that offense that much in the past. Well, the thing is that this RPO offense has gotten more love as of late this year. These offenses run this RPO. Even some offenses in the NFL run it that we see on the professional level. Teams are running these plays that it's RPO, run pass option. Yesterday, I just don't know if he was supposed to keep it and didn't and saw I don't know what it was. I really don't. And he didn't clarify it that much. So we're not going to ever understand what the call, what he should. But we do know he shouldn't have ran the ball. We all can agree on that. Don't run an RPO in that spot.
It reminds me of an old Seattle play.
Oh yeah, don't remind me of that Super Bowl. I was right down here in this atmosphere watching that game. That was and Laura just said that. Laura just said that reminds me of the Seahawks Super Bowl call. Stupid. Yeah, that one was going. I think that was probably worse. That Seattle one, because that was at the 1 yard line, and that's a Super Bowl, so that was the biggest game of them all, and you passed the ball instead of giving the ball to Marshawn Lynch. That's one of the most underlying questions in life. Why didn't the Seahawks run the ball with Marshawn Lynch back then against the Patriots? And we're left here this morning disgusted, right? And a lot of Penn State fans, like Chris, like Albert, like Laura, like Joe, like Jeff, you guys are devastated. And, I thought they would win that game yesterday. As I regress to what I said an hour ago, I thought Penn State deserved to win, should have won, and they didn't. And that's kind of where we're at right now on a Sunday morning as you're left to pick up the pieces. And I know you Eagles fans out there who are Penn State fans in this area locally, we speak to them a lot in the Philadelphia area, Allentown area, whatever the case is. You guys tune in and like the show. And for me, it's you look at it as a fandom. You just want to move on, right? When you get a loss like that, you're on to the next game. So I'm sure you Eagles fans out there that follow Penn State are looking forward to the 1 o'clock start time for the Philadelphia Eagles to get that bad taste out of your mouth. I know Chris is, I know Laura is, Eagles fans, I know Albert is. You guys could definitely tune in and hopefully see a Carson Wentz victory. All right, NFL discussion now continues for the rest of the show. Fantasy football talk, okay? I want to get this segment rolling. I want to get this segment going because now we're into week 4 in your fantasy football leagues. If you guys have any stardom, sit-em conversations that you want to talk about, bring it to the table. We'll discuss it live. And it's not just from me because I'm not a fantasy football expert by any means. I'm not going to try to sell myself as one. I could sit here and say I have a website with GodfatherLocks.com because I've been doing it for 7 years, have had some success doing it. So I can tell you that I like to pick games and I have a following. I have a bunch of customers that support the site. This, with fantasy, I don't know. I'm going to throw my hands up. I don't know what is going on anymore in fantasy football because you don't know what player can go off at any moment. We were talking the other day about this on Thursday. No defense being played in the NFL. The flags in the NFL are helping fantasy scores, but you just don't know who's going to blow up, what defenses are actually going to play defense. You look at this Eagles-Titans game today, the over-under is 41 points, right? So you would expect the Eagles defense and Titans defense to play strong. Next thing you know, Carson Wentz has 4 touchdown passes, and the Titans running backs have 3 touchdown runs combined, and your fantasy football defense looks like shit. I don't know how to break down fantasy football the way it used to be played because the league has changed, okay? The NFL has changed. So if you guys want to chime in on fantasy football, give me your stardom, sit-em conversations, what your teams look like, right? Who's at your quarterback? Who's at your running back? Who's at your receiver? Talk about your leagues. Let's make this a fun segment to discuss fantasy football, and that's why it was created. When we started the show back a couple weeks ago, when we came back on for football season, is to allow people to talk fantasy because fantasy gets attention, right, Joe? Fantasy football, everyone's talking about it. Everybody's talking about it. So we definitely want to get you guys on record talking fantasy football. If you'd like to jump on the chat room, Facebook Live, the Mixler app, YouTube, at the Across the Board Sports Talk Show page on YouTube, and of course on Twitter, at Joe Eunice 15 on Twitter. If you want to give me your fantasy football discussions, what do your leagues look like? You want to talk about that as well? The waiver wire question marks. I know a lot of people question what to do on the waiver wire, who to pick up, any free agents in your leagues that you want to start. People watch Matthew Berry on ESPN. Good selection. I think I used to have Matthew Berry on my show down at the Fanatic. We used to throw Matt Berry up all the time. Matt used to come on, do his fantasy football hit every Friday. We also had Eric Carabell, who was a supporter of the Fanatic. He was at Fantasy Fest a couple of times. Eric Carabell knows his stuff as well. I'm neither of those guys, but if you want to talk fantasy football, we can do so. And of course, it's brought to you by the law offices Albert Yakub, the Elias Market and Bake Shop, and of course, the Essence Hookah Lounge. They sponsor the fantasy football segment. My team Still struggling without Le'Veon Bell, okay? Can't get a win, 0-3 on the year. And, of course, Kirk Cousins the other day drops 50-some-odd points the same way Matt Ryan did the week before. And I took a beating again. I'm down like 40-some points going into today. So I've got Tom Brady. So in connection to my pick with the Patriots today, I would hope that Tom Brady puts up fantasy football numbers to kind of make up what Kirk Cousins did on Thursday. That's my gripe with the NFL, is the defenses, man. You just don't know who's going to play defense anymore. And that's why we talk about the Giants, who has a defense all of a sudden in the last couple of weeks. We talk about Pittsburgh, who's been struggling defensively. They've got to find it. And if you're in the NFL and you have some sort of a defense, you're in good shape. You're in good shape, right? Because everybody wants to throw the ball around the yard, and the flags will always help the offense. So if you got a defense that's not going to commit roughing the passer calls, which is the absurd thing in the NFL right now, that if you hug a guy, you get a roughing the passer call. If you got a defense that blitzes well, that covers well, that's got physical athletes on that side of the ball, linebacker positions, they put pressure on the ends, play smart football, you're ahead of the game, because the NFL is all about points and flags. That's what it is now, man. That's what it is.
But if you're going to throw a flag, make it count. Make it an actual...
Make it justifiable. There has to be a reason to throw the flag.
Last week's touchdown, I forget the game, where the one team clearly didn't, and they got the touchdown. The other team clearly hit the pylon and then some.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get mad.
Yeah, but the thing is the rules, the reviews, it's ruined the game. Like we were talking about this yesterday with college. That game yesterday, Penn State and Ohio State, there was no mistakes by the referees. There was no. The only one.
Were sharp, man.
The only one that was a little questionable was when Hamler went up, grabbed that ball, and he came in with his head, and then he fell there. He landed on the ground and looked worse than it was. He kind of grazed his shoulder. They called targeting, and he was ejected. But I think it was the result of the play that caused the personal foul call. There were a few plays that happened that I was like, in the NFL, it's a flag, roughing the passer, hit out of bounds, whatever it is, a holding call, a pass interference call. You're going to get that in the NFL. And I don't think you see that much in college because they let them play
a
little more.
The college umps and refs, sharpening their skills because they know they're going to end up replacing the NFL.
Yeah, so they're on a Sunday talking NFL, and I always say to you that the NFL should have never we all agree. Shaw Clay last week that took the storylines. He tackles Alex Smith like a high schooler. I mean, this was a little league tackle, and Clay McCall roughing the passer. I know I wrote this in my notes to talk about the roughing the passer call. We saw it on Monday night in Tampa and Pittsburgh. Every other play, it seemed like there was a roughing the passer call. You can't even enjoy the games anymore. You can't even enjoy the NFL because of the flag. So we're still talking about it because the Bills and the NFL is a hot subject that everybody watches. I still watch every game. I'm a crazed fan. I track all the games on my phones. I'm not turning away from the product, but I'm definitely down on it. Now, I'm bigger on Saturdays. I like Saturday football more than I like the NFL. So, has it turned me off to fantasy? Yes. The league rules, the league changes have also thrown into the fact that I've turned off to fantasy football. It's helped the cause. It's helped turn me off to it. If the league was still the same the way it was for years, I would not be totally against fantasy football the way I am right now. So it's a struggle for me to get excited about the NFL. Maybe I'm wrong. Again, I gave you 4 games today that I think are interesting to watch, and then the 5th one coming up in a minute as we wrap up the show here in about 10-15 minutes. But I'll talk about these games because it is still football somewhat. But the flags just need to come down a little bit. If there's any way the NFL can do that, that'll help the viewership because, ratings going down last year for the national anthem stuff and this year with the flags. I don't know. It's a hard watch is what it is. And we talked about Penn State, Ohio State for an hour. Nobody can sit here and say that game wasn't awesome to watch. Even if Penn State came on the short end and lost by a point, it was still a good game to watch. It was still a physical game. There was still a lot of talent out there on the field. It was still a football game. It was pride, right? It was a battle on the gridiron. There was plays being made on both sides. Both teams were making plays on both sides of the ball that you can be impressed by. And I think we could agree that was still football for all it's worth. It was still football. What do we get today in the NFL? I talked about the first 4 games of the day. Saints, Giants, Ravens, Steelers, the Dolphins and the Patriots, which all of a sudden Miami's 3-0. They're playing a 1-2 New England team coming off a couple losses in a row to Jacksonville and Detroit. They're back home at Gillette Stadium, which they really dominant team. And I think it's hard to go into New England, any team out there, to go up there and beat them, especially off of 2 losses in a row for the Patriots coming back home. And the Dolphins, 3-0, surprising team in the NFL. Definitely, I think them and the Chiefs, not that the Chiefs are undefeated, it's just the way Patrick Mahomes is playing is a very big surprise. And of course, the Dolphins 3-0. Not many people could have seen this coming, that they're 3-0. That was my other one. And I also like the Packers-Bills game just to see what Aaron Rodgers has in the tank, right? What he's got left for that Packers team, and what Bills team shows up today. I don't know. I mean, they showed up last week. And they put on a beatdown on the Vikings. The Vikings, of course, tied with the Packers, and now it's a 9.5 point line for the Packers, favored at home against the Bills. So I'm interested to see that. Hello, Sam. Sam Soffy says agree. He agreed on that NFL rant that I went on, that I've been on for the last how many weeks we've been doing the show now since we came back from our vacation. 4 or 5 weeks in a row, we've talked about how bogus the NFL is, and I know Sam's tuning in. I appreciate Sam tuning in here as well. Tim Clark. What's up, Tim? Longtime listener, Tim Clark. Joe, doesn't the Cleveland line tell you something? It does. It tells me that the Raiders is the play, Tim. I don't understand how the Raiders, after Baker Mayfield comes off the bench, beats the Jets in the second half of last week's Thursday night game. They come on the road. They play a winless Raiders team. The Raiders, minus a field goal, who hasn't won a game, plays a Baker Mayfield Browns team that looked pretty phenomenal in the second half, Tim. It's a Raiders line. And Tim, you probably look at the game the same way I do. I know you're a big sports fan, big Philadelphia. Put out a line like that and not look fishy, right? Would be -3. Look, the top 2 picks of the day for me are the Patriots and the Giants. Okay, Patriots -6.5, Giants +3.5. Again, GodfatherLocks.com, 25-8-1 run. The last 34 picks, 6-1-1 in my last 8 NFL picks. In the last 8 days, 8 straight winning days on the website. Baseball, football, whatever you want. Basketball starting soon too, Joe. We're going to have to do an NBA show coming up. I know how much you like the NBA. We'll talk NBA coming up in the next couple of weeks. We'll discuss LeBron James' new home in the Lakers. We'll do a special NBA pre-show when the season starts that Tuesday. I'm hoping to do a show to talk NBA tip-off. We'll get to that as the season gets underway for all you Sixers fans, Lakers fans, whatever you're out there. Warriors, bandwagoners. We'll talk about Steph Curry, the Kevin Durant, the chances of a repeat again, the dominance of the Warriors. We'll discuss all that coming up in the next couple of weeks when the season gets started. But 25-8-1 in all leagues in the last 8 days of picks. Baseball playoffs start Tuesday and Wednesday too. So if you're following baseball, the NL wildcard situation, the NL scenario today is going to be crazy to see how this turns out. I know the Dodgers are in, Cardinals are out, but who's going to be the division champ? Who's going to be playing on Tuesday? And where the hell is the game going to be played? Because if the Dodgers win the division, the Rockies, the Brewers, the Rockies are going to Milwaukee, right? If the Dodgers don't win the division and the Rockies win it, the Dodgers are going to Milwaukee. So someone's going to Milwaukee on Tuesdays, I think is a scenario. And I think the Cubs, I think the Cubs can clinch today in the NL Central. So we'll see what happens in baseball. So definitely, if you're all into all the sports, check out GodfatherLocks.com for your picks. But Tim, I agree. Oakland may be another free pick today. I'm not going to take it, but if I were taking that game, I would take the Raiders minus the 3 points. How the hell do you make a line like that? Oakland hasn't won a game. They've looked pretty poor blowing leads in games that they play. Look at the Denver game last week when they went out there and lost that lead against the Denver Broncos. And I think, for me, it's interesting to see lines like that because it just opens your eyes. Then you see the public and where they're betting at it, and you're like, wow. obviously it's a situation where public bettors are trapped. Sharp bettors definitely know what the hell's going on, and they could read the lines. So Tim, Chris, Helen, hello, Helen Thompson. To Helen, visited the other day. Great people, friends of the family, big supporters of the program, and thank you for listening. Of course, comments on Penn State, Ohio State to wrap up the show in the next 5 or 6, 7 minutes here. What did you think about the game? Joe and I discussed this for the first hour and change. Blunder by James Franklin. Penn State deserved to win the game. They didn't. They fell short. It's going to be a tough loss to recover from if you're the Penn State Nittany Lions. That's kind of the test of this. Now, again, after the show, if you're watching the podcast, whether it's on YouTube or Facebook, please, I beg you to watch James Franklin's press conference. Joe, if you didn't see it, you got to watch it, Joe. Maybe your interpretation will be different than the way mine was, but I saw a coach stand out there and you shouldn't be that fired up or go on a rant when you were part of the reason. That's how I feel. And Joe, I think Joe's spot on. He did it to save his face. He did it to say, you know what? These players got too comfortable being great. You know, we got to get back to doing these things. These fans aren't happy. I'm not happy. He started going off. Dude, you shouldn't have called that on 4th and 5. You should have called a pass play, rolled your quarterback out, extended the play. Look, you could have gotten a flag. You could have gotten a holding call, a pass interference call. I mean, if this was the NFL, he might have got roughed by being tapped. There could have been roughing the passer. There could have been so many different things that Penn State could have gotten from that play than what they did. I think that's the consensus here on the show.
Understandable. They have a little bit of blame, but at the end of the day, you call the play and they're supposed to execute the play.
Of course. And Ohio State blew it up.
If you call a shitty play, they're going to execute a shitty play.
Shitty play, yeah. In that situation, yeah. You don't call that play on 4th and 5.
But you were okay with all the touchdown runs and passes that they were doing, and you know your quarterback has the most yards in how many years in Penn State history?
Yeah. Oh, but he was gashing him though. I mean, McSorley was gashing him.
I think the guy said since 1913.
Yeah. Yeah, he almost had 200 yards rushing yesterday. But again, Penn State, tough loss. You know, again, it's been a highlight of the show yesterday. We talked a lot about Penn State, Ohio State. The atmosphere was electric. It was everything we thought it would be. Again, I mean, a 3.5 point line was, I thought, perfect. Thinking that Penn State would cover that. Again, to reiterate, I thought they should have won the game. They played better enough to win the game, and they didn't. So that kind of wraps the bow on that. And we're going to see what happens to Penn State again coming up in the near future, and whether or not it lingers.
Now, real quick, I can't remember who it was, but someone did ask.
Yeah.
Heisman Trophy run. Who do you think?
Well, the kid from Ohio State now, Haskins, looks like the guy that people are saying, well, he could take over.
Really?
I like the kid from Oklahoma. That Kyler Murray kid's unbelievable. 7 touchdown pass. I mean, he's unbelievable. He really is a stud. Bryce Love yesterday went out for Stanford. That loss is going to hurt. Even though we witnessed with Lamar Jackson, it doesn't matter what happens with your record anymore. If you're putting up numbers, you're putting up numbers. I think with the Heisman, Joe, usually around Halloween, not even Halloween, I'd probably say like a week before Halloween is when it starts to turn, and you can kind of see who your contenders are. Your 4 or 5 guys that are contenders. It's going to be interesting. Now, I had a show last year, if you remember, we did it whether or not people even discuss the Heisman Trophy anymore because it's lost its meaning. It's lost its luster. Some of these NFL MVPs, people say, well, who the hell cares? Everybody gets a star on his shoulder right now. All-Stars, that means nothing, right? Like, NBA All-Star means so much. I know it's a fun, silly game. They dunk off the backboard, and they just don't play any defense. But when you're an NBA All-Star, it's cool. When you're an NFL All-Star, it's like, yeah, who cares? Right? It's like NFL. I mean, guys, nobody wants to play in that game in Hawaii. Nobody wants to play in it. It's a game that a lot of people just do because they watch because it adds another element to gambling, and people can bet on a game. That's really what it is. I'm serious. And I'm not just because that's what I'm into, but the All-Star game, it's an exhibition game that has nothing riding on it for that. But the Heisman Trophy is still the Heisman Trophy. So we'll see how it shapes up. I think it's definitely going to be interesting to see who.
They should have something like that for the NFL. Something else for the players to achieve for. Other than, okay, I'm playing really hard because Nike's looking for a new person to endorse.
Money's involved,
You know, or when you get to the Super Bowl, you hit, this guy's the MVP of the game. So I feel like they should have one that this year's all-time player that made a difference in the league. This year.
Yeah, not just the MVP, which is always skewed too a little bit.
And then, you know what? It could come along with a nice little bonus.
Yeah, why not?
Something to really make people
work hard for it.
Work hard.
Yeah.
But it's got to be all the way around. Catching, hitting.
Yeah.
You can't hit like a bitch.
Yeah, exactly.
And a lot of these guys have been hitting like bitches.
Because they don't want to get flagged.
Oh, man. I played with guys in high school and in middle school.
Yeah.
They probably hit harder than half these guys.
I believe it because the NFL is taught them.
I know 2 guys that knock people out left and right.
Yeah. Well, it's because the NFL, they're playing to this league, though. That's what the league is now.
Y'all know who you are. I love you guys.
How about Ted commenting? Ted says, Catasauqua competitive flags, -2.5 today. They win 26-20. So Ted's talking about his son. Again, I've given him a shout out the last couple of weeks. Austin and Alex, yes, 2 of my nephews are playing football right now. Austin plays flags for Catasauqua, which is right near, if you're listening in Philadelphia or for all my other people listening across Allentown, it's right next to Whitehall, right here in Whitehall area, Northampton area. Caddy's right down the road from Allentown, PA. They have a Caddy flag team that my nephew Austin plays for. I'm going to go ahead and run out here in about 2 minutes to catch that game. I have yet to see a game because it's always during the show. This one's at noon. So I'm going to be able to catch the show today. I'm going to go out there and watch Austin play flag football. And then, of course, Alex, who is my other nephew, my other brother, Ronnie's son, plays full contact equipment, right? He's playing equipment. They took a tough loss yesterday. So Little League lines, putting out gambling lines for Little League games. I tried to do that, Ted, with high school games when I was in high school. No, not joking. My high school friends could probably remember this. But I used to say, oh, Deerhoof plays Liberty, Liberty minus 40.5. I used to throw out lines when we were struggling. Deerhoof struggled. Now they got 2 wins in a row. Shout out to Deerhoof High School winning 2 games in a row. But I used to try to do that in high school. Pretty sure I could have gotten in trouble for that. Never took action because nobody had money in high school.
High school kids, that would be
lunch money on the line.
That would be a great idea to take action on it.
Yeah.
And then you can just donate that to the programs that you're taking action.
That would be cool.
Now it's legit.
Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool.
And I'm sure they would appreciate it. New jerseys and stuff for food stands.
Absolutely. Little League programs, high school programs can use any money they can get. I remember back at Eastside, I'm sure you had the same at Freedom and the Bethlehem, your programs you guys were in. It's hard to make these guys to make money. So I'm interested to see. My son's only about to be 3 years old. And my wife was telling me the other day, she's like, you should be a coach when they do it. I said, I will, but you know me and how competitive I am, how fired up I am. I mean, you can't lose and give participation trophies. That's under my household. If you lose, I'll be upset for weeks. I'll throw up. If you give a participation trophy, I'll throw it out in the garbage. You don't get one of those. That's how I am.
Listen,
I don't look at that way.
The only person, honestly, that can be a coach in this family is probably just Teddy.
Yeah.
Because everybody else is just way too intense.
Too intense, yeah.
We'll get kicked off the field.
Exactly. All right, big shout out to all my advertisers, Red Company Jewelers, Red Jewelers Company. I always get that mixed up. Red Jewelers, 5248 Hamilton Boulevard, 704 West Emmaus Ave. Law Office at Al Recoup, 610-437-2185. Those are your premier sponsors. The Cut, 1058 3rd Street in Whitehall. I think Celtic Fest is still going on today.
Yes.
It is, in Bethlehem. So check out the Wooden Match, 61 West Lehigh Street. Yes, 61 West Lehigh Street. Check out the Celtic Fest if you want to go out, have some beer, enjoy the games on your phone or whatever else you want to do.
They do have a limited menu, but it's all Irish.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Ireland inspired.
Yeah, that's great. I like that accent.
And from what I hear, it's very good.
Yeah, their food's awesome there at the Wooden Match. Of course, check them out, 61 West Lehigh Street. Your Eli Boutros, big mention for him, 484-547-8228. Again, 484-547-8228 at Elias Boutros, LehighValleyAgents.com. Buy or sell rates. Of course, you can check them out there at Eli Boutros. Laziz Mediterranean Grill, 4666 Broadway, Tillman Square Plaza. Finest food. They have new furniture there. Check out their place. We all agree they need a bigger place, because I see their videos on Facebook. Their food's too phenomenal for that such a small place up there. You want to check out Laziz Mediterranean Grill. Biagio Pizzeria Restaurant, 5226 North Cedar Crest Boulevard. Fine sponsor of the show. Has backed the show since day one. Check them out for any food.
I think we started a debate.
Yeah, I see that on Facebook. I'll get to it here in a second. But JDM Photography, Elias Bake Shop and Market. I mentioned the Wooden Match. Of course, give them a mention. Aladdin Restaurant, 651 Union Boulevard. Give them a shout out. Restoration One, 610-457-0654 for your mold or water damage. The Essence Hookah Lounge, who sponsors the fantasy football segment. You can check them out on 3rd Street after Celtic Fest. I think they're open today during the day. I think they're open late too. So check out Hookah Lounge and have yourself a long day there in Bethlehem. And of course, Eric Alnor LLC for a counselor. If you're looking for a counselor, 717-462-2928. Visit his website online. Yes, we are intense. I see Laura saying, "What, us intense?" Yeah, we are. We are very intense. I'm intense. I'm jacked up because I'm ready for NFL football today. And I'm even though with all the flags and the roughing the passer, I'm still watching. I don't want to sound like I'm a hypocrite. I'm still watching. I have to watch not only for the show but for the website and for the entertainment purposes of the NFL. So let's hope we get a good day of football. I'm gonna go enjoy caddy flags right now.
Wait, we have to still taking names to see.
Yes. So this is how this is going to work now. I thank you for reminding me. I'm trying to rush through this. If you want to submit your name, I know Danny Dioub is in it right now. If you want to submit your name, I'm going to throw a post up later today, a Facebook post for anybody to put their name in the hat, because I know not everybody's listening in live. It's fair to say I get hundreds of views after the show, which I don't understand, because it's hard to talk about the Eagles when people are tuning in at 4 and I've already talked about them. You know what I mean? But hey, whenever you can listen, thank you. I don't want to stop people from listening if you're listening at 4 o'clock or 8 o'clock at night. But we are doing a co-hosting contest on the show. And how does it work? Just submit your name. There's a lot of ways you could reach me right now. On Twitter at JoeUnis15. On Facebook at Facebook Live. Or Facebook on my comment page. Across the board Sports Talk Show's Facebook page. On YouTube on Across the Board Sports Talk Show. Or in the Mixer app at mixlr.com/Joe-Unis. Give me your name. We're going to put it in a hat. How about on Saturday? We'll pick out the name. Live on air. We'll pick out a name. We'll tell you who's going to be co-hosting, and then we'll work it out with that co-host for when they're going to be here live or at a live show. Maybe even the Thanksgiving Day show at the Cut when we do Thanksgiving morning football like we did last year. One of my favorite shows we did to date, right? It was probably one of the best ones we've done alongside of my man Albert at the Wooden Match. We'll do some more of those as well. All right, everybody, enjoy some football. Chris, enjoy your Eagles. He says, have fun, have a great show. I'm going to go catch some competitive flag football league right now with my nephew, Austin. Hopefully he gets the W. And Ted, if you're still listening, I would take the -2.5 and take Caddy because I'm going to the game. Hopefully Catasauqua gets the win. Everybody enjoy the game. Again, free picks of the show. Patriots -6.5. Giants +3.5 for entertainment purposes only. I'll talk to you Saturday, 10:30, live on the show. Thank you, everybody. Have a good week.